When Aung San Suu Kyi was under house arrest, many people around the world marched and demonstrated in her support. We called for her release. We called for free and fair elections in her country, which had been abused by the army, effectively a military government. She was released. There were elections and she was elected. Sadly, she has not spoken out about the abuse of Muslim people, about the abuse of the Rohingya, and indeed has been hauled before international judicial processes because of her army's abuse of them. And I find that very sad. And I hope she'll reflect solidarity around the world for people who are victims of political or human rights abuse should not know any boundaries. And those of us that spoke up for her will also speak up for the Rohingya people. There are around 1 million Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. They are people that have been driven out of their homes in Rakhine State in Myanmar, and I think it's one of the biggest refugee crises in the world at the present time. They're now in these very large camps where there are serious concerns about health, about the lack of education, and the danger of the coronavirus spreading throughout the camps. At the moment, the infection rate is probably less than in the neighbouring communities in Bangladesh, but clearly with people living so close together, it could rise very, very fast indeed. My concern is with the world's attention focused on so much of what is happening in the Middle East with refugees trying to enter Europe, or indeed in Europe and not getting the support they should, that the Rohingya refugees are being ignored, and the causes of them seeking a place of safety are also being ignored, and that those are the crucial issues that I believe have to be addressed, which is why I'm raising the issue in the British Parliament to ask the British government to do all it can to support them, but above all to get a message to the wider world. The facilities are inadequate. They obviously need more funding and more support, but they're also have now become completely enclosed camps because the Bangladesh government is concerned about refugees moving into Bangladesh itself. The issue of the fencing is a serious problem because the Rohingya have come to Bangladesh for a place of safety. They've gone into the refugee camps. They're not criminals, but in effect, they're encircled in the camps because the government of Bangladesh is concerned about them going elsewhere, so has put a fencing system all around the camps. And that means they can't travel anywhere else. They can't go anywhere else. I think the treatment of Rohingya people in other places besides Bangladesh is very regrettable. The Malaysian government have made it very clear they do not want Rohingya refugees there. The Thai government have done much the same. And whilst there are concerns in Bangladesh about the fencing arrangements and the lack of ability of the Rohingya people to move, I think one should also have some respect for Bangladesh because they are hosting 1 million refugees in their country. No other country in the world at the present time hosts so many refugees in such a short space of time. So I do think we need to give more economic support to the Rohingya refugees in the camps, but we also have to turn our attention to the politics of why they've sought refuge in the first place, and that is the systematic abuse of their rights, abuse of their language, and abuse of their faith in Myanmar. Britain is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, therefore has a very important voice in this, and Britain is also a very important member of the UN Human Rights Council. And so whilst I welcome the fact that the British government has provided quite a lot of economic support for the camps, I think we need to do more, as much as we possibly can, encourage other countries to do the same, but also to lead the issue internationally about the treatment of these people by the government in Myanmar. Why people are effectively being driven out of their own country by a process which looks to me very much like ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya people from that part of Myanmar. I think that has to be done and it has to be said, because if it isn't, then what's the future? The Government just succeeds in getting rid of them and they stay forevermore in refugee camps. They're all people, they're all human beings, a lot of children, a lot of young people there. They need a life, they need a future. In our world at the present time, there are almost 70 million people who are refugees. They're all human beings. They all want to survive. They all want to lead a life. And young people, especially, need to know they have a future. Therefore, we cannot ever walk by on the other side and forget the refugees. So we have to examine the causes of seeking asylum, try and deal with those, and at the same time provide the educational and health support that they desperately need in those camps, and of course the food to survive. And the Rohingya are no different to any other people. They want the ability to lead their lives, and I think the rest of the world should do everything it can to make sure they can.